Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
When people think of Nazi Germany, they often think of terrible wars and cruel leaders. They remember the millions of people who suffered and died. Germany built a very powerful army that wanted to take over other lands. But how did a country that was so broken after World War I and the Great Depression manage to become so strong again? Many people know about leaders like Adolf Hitler, but there were other important figures working behind the scenes. One such man was Hjalmar Schacht. Perhaps you have not heard of him. He was a key person. Schacht did not give orders to kill. Instead, he found the money and resources, the fuel, for Germany's war machine. Germany was in ruins in the early 1930s. It had almost no money and many people had no jobs. Yet it quickly built a huge army. This seems like a great mystery. How did a country with so little manage to create a military that shocked the world? What was the secret? This chapter will show how Germany's economy was built. It was a system that took a lot from other countries and from its own people. This parasitic way of doing things helped Germany grow fast. But this system also had big problems. We will explore how it worked and what finally made the Third Reich fail and collapse. 2. A broken country. After the First World War, Germany faced many problems. The country worked to recover and borrowed much money. But in 1929, the Great Depression started in the United States, spreading worldwide. Foreign investors took their money from Germany. New loans stopped. Germany's economy weakened. Many businesses closed and millions lost jobs. By the early 1930s, 1 in 5 Germans was unemployed. People felt hopeless and looked for a leader. Adolf Hitler used this difficult situation to gain power. He promised jobs and stability. He spoke to peasants, workers, and business owners, offering what they wanted. By 1932, his party became the largest in parliament. On January 30, 1933, Hitler became Reich Chancellor, the head of the German government. This started a new and difficult time for Germany. Hitler's government quickly changed Germany's economy. Peasants were one of the first groups to get help. They suffered from low crop prices and much debt during the crisis. In September 1933, the hereditary farm law was passed. This gave land to peasants, but they could not sell or divide it. It passed only from father to son. This tied farmers to their land, limiting their freedom. Soon, the Reich food estate was created. Farmers had to join and sell almost all crops to the state at set prices. This gave them stable incomes but put food supplies under state control. The government also had a big plan for workers. In 1933, about 6 million Germans were unemployed. The state became the main customer for businesses, ordering many goods. For example, Companies like Hugo Boss made uniforms for state groups. Businesses received promises of payment, which they could cash at banks. This new money was backed by real products, helping to create many jobs. By 1939, almost everyone in Germany had work. However, workers also lost many rights. All independent trade unions were closed. In their place, the German Labor Front was created, controlled by the state. Strikes were not allowed. A system of workbooks meant employers could prevent workers from changing jobs easily. Even with less freedom, many workers were happy to have stable jobs and wages again. They believed the state was helping them. 3. Secret money for war. After the First World War, Germany signed the Treaty of Versailles. This treaty made it hard for Germany to have a strong army. It said Germany could only have 100,000 soldiers. It also said Germany could not have big warships, submarines, an air force, tanks, or chemical weapons. The League of Nations, an international group, watched Germany to make sure it followed these rules. Its inspectors checked factories and government papers. But Germany wanted to build its army again. To do this without being caught, they needed a secret plan for money. In 1934, a company called Metallurgical Research Corporation, or MEFO, was created. This company did not make anything. Instead, it was a way to hide military spending. MEFO placed orders for war goods with German factories. It paid them with special notes called MEFO bills. The Reichsbank, Germany's central bank, promised to pay these bills later. These bills were good because they paid 4% interest each year, more than other savings. Also, companies could hold them for a long time, so the government did not have to pay cash right away. This system kept the real military spending a secret. The League of Nations inspectors looked at government accounts. But MEFO bills looked like payments between private companies. So the inspectors did not see how much money was really going into war production. Between 1934 and 1938, MEFO bills worth 12 billion Reichsmarks were used. Only a small part of this money was ever claimed from the bank. The rest stayed hidden as companies used them to pay each other. The government also found another way to get money from its citizens. In 1934, Adolf Hitler promised a German car for every family. This car, called the Volkswagen, or People's Car, was meant to cost only 1,000 Reichsmarks. An average worker earned about 75 Reichsmarks a month, so this was still a lot of money. To help people buy it, the government started a savings plan. Citizens could pay 5 Reichsmarks each week to save for their car. By the end of 1939, 270,000 Germans had paid 110 million Reichsmarks into this plan. But no one ever received a car. The country was getting ready for war, and the government said it needed military vehicles, not civilian cars. The money collected from the people went to help build the war machine instead. These secret methods, like MEFO bills and the Volkswagen savings plan, meant that Germany was building its economy on a growing amount of hidden debt, fueling its military plans. 4. Help from other countries. After the First World War, Germany needed financial help. Many European countries owed money to the United States. Germany also owed money to these European nations. The United States saw a chance to get its money back if Germany's economy improved. So, the U.S. helped Germany with loans. From 1925 to 1930, American companies lent Germany almost 7 billion Reichsmarks. These loans greatly boosted Germany's economy. Its national income grew by 34%. Germany's industrial production became the second largest in the world, after the United States. This recovery period was strong. However, it ended when the Great Depression began in 1929. American companies quickly took their money out of Germany, causing a severe economic crisis. Adolf Hitler, upon gaining power, wanted to avoid such problems again. He aimed for Germany to control its own finances. In 1936, Germany introduced new money rules. The Reichsmark could no longer be freely exchanged for foreign money. All foreign money earned from international trade had to go to the Reichsbank, Germany's central bank. For example, General Motors, an American car company, owned Opel in Germany. When Opel sold parts to German Motors factory in Switzerland, the Swiss francs paid went to the Reichsbank, not directly to Opel. Opel received its payment in German Reichsmarks. This system helped the German government collect large amounts of foreign money for its future plans, especially military ones. Despite these strict controls, some foreign companies continued to operate in Germany. General Motors, through its German company Opel, produced trucks and aircraft components for the German army. It also shared important technology needed for high-octane fuel for the Luftwaffe, Germany's air force. Another American company, Standard Oil, a major oil company at the time, supplied oil and technology for synthetic fuel and rubber, both crucial for the Army. These companies often prioritized making profits even as Germany's military buildup became clear. To make sure all German industries served state goals, especially for war, the government took strong action. Hitler did not want free competition. Instead, he wanted to direct industrial growth for the party. Companies were forced to form groups called cartels. Cartel members agreed on prices and sales, which ensured profits. In 1933, a law made these cartels mandatory. The Ministry of Economics could force private businesses into these groups. Cartels could even legally remove outside companies. Almost all German businesses became part of a cartel and received military orders. For example, Hugo Junkers, an aircraft designer, was arrested in 1933 because he would not cooperate. He was held until he handed control of his company to the Air Ministry. By 1939, Germany was spending 23% of its economy on the military. Over 75% of heavy industry was producing goods for the army. These actions helped Germany build its war machine, sometimes with foreign help and often through forceful control of its own industries. 5. Building an army. The world largely ignored early signs that Germany was preparing for war. In 1933, a British journalist named Norman Ebbett wrote about Germany's war plans, but his newspaper, The Times, did not print his reports. Many people did not want to make Germany angry again. They feared another war. News companies often chose not to publish things that could make relations with Germany worse. This was a big mistake. While the world looked away, Germany trained soldiers in secret. The German Air Sports Association was created in March 1933. It looked like a club for people who enjoyed flying gliders, but it was actually a school that taught future pilots for Germany's new Air Force, called the Luftwaffe. Submarine crews learned their skills at an anti-submarine defense school. Also, new submarines were built in other countries, like Finland, starting in 1927. Finland and Germany had good relations since Germany helped Finland become independent after the First World War. These submarines were like test boats for Germany's own navy later. These secret actions helped Germany go around the rules of the Treaty of Versailles. In 1932, countries met to talk about reducing weapons. This meeting was organized by the League of Nations, an international group formed after the First World War. Germany, still limited by the Treaty of Versailles, demanded equal rights. It said that either other countries should reduce their armies to Germany's size, or Germany should be allowed to build its own. Other countries said no to this idea. Europe remembered the last war and did not want to risk another. So Germany said the other countries were unfair. On October 14, 1933, Adolf Hitler announced on the radio that Germany would not stay without weapons if other countries had them. A few days later, on October 19, Germany officially left the League of Nations. After this, Germany no longer felt bound by the Treaty of Versailles. It began to rearm in secret, and by 1935 it was doing so openly. Why did no one stop Germany? Paris wanted to punish Germany if it broke the treaty again, but London did not agree. Britain did not want to make things worse or hurt its trade with Germany. By 1933, Germany was a big buyer of British goods. If Britain stopped trading, it would hurt its own economy. By the end of 1934, many newspapers began to report on Germany's large-scale rearmament. It was no longer a rumor. On March 16, 1935, Hitler publicly announced that all young men had to join the army. He also said Germany now had its own air force, the Luftwaffe. The League of Nations only said they were concerned. They had no real power to stop Germany, and its members could not agree on what to do. Britain even signed a deal with Germany, letting it rebuild its navy. This navy, however, had to be smaller than Britain's. By 1935, Germany was strong again. It had a growing economy and was as powerful as France and Great Britain. Germany understood that no one would punish it for breaking the Versailles Treaty, So, in 1936, at a party meeting in Nuremberg, Germany announced the four-year plan. This plan had two main goals. First, the German army must be ready for war within 4 years. Second, the German economy must be ready for war within 4 years. The world community still did not take strong action. Germany was now openly getting ready for war. 6. Taking other lands. After building its army, Germany began to take over other lands. First, it looked to Austria. In March 1938, German soldiers entered Austria without a fight. This act was called annexation. Austria had useful industries like steel and machine building. It also had important raw materials, such as iron ore. Most importantly, Austria had a lot of gold and foreign money, which was 25 times more than Germany's own supply. Germany took these valuable reserves to help pay for its war plans. After Austria, Germany wanted Czechoslovakia. This country was also a strong industrial state with a good location in Central Europe. About 3 million ethnic Germans lived in a part of Czechoslovakia called the Sudetenland. Germany used this as a reason to demand this land. Other European countries agreed, hoping to avoid war. But in March 1939, German troops marched into Prague, and Czechoslovakia became part of Germany. This brought Germany a large arms industry, including the Škoda Company. Škoda made tanks, artillery, and ammunition. By 1941, 1/3 of Germans' weapons came from Czech factories. By this time, Germany's economy was built for war. Military spending was almost 1/4 of its total economy in 1938. If Germany stopped expanding, it would face problems. There would be too many weapons and not enough goods for its people. Factories built for war would have no orders, and people would lose jobs. The war economy needed to keep growing and taking new resources to survive. Germany still needed more raw materials. It imported most of its iron ore, copper, and tin. It also needed a lot of oil. So, Germany decided to take these by force. On September 1, 1939, German soldiers invaded Poland. After Poland, Germany attacked France in May 1940. France was another big industrial country with a lot of gold, the third largest in the world. Germany defeated France in 46 days, gaining its industry and gold. Germany also worked with allies and neutral countries to get supplies. Finland, for example, supplied valuable raw materials like molybdenum and nickel. Sweden, which stayed neutral, sold Germany a lot of iron ore, sometimes up to 83% of Germany's imports. Swiss banks helped Germany pay for resources abroad by changing gold from conquered lands into other currencies. Romania was a key source for oil, providing up to 60% of Germany's needs. Even countries like Portugal and Spain supplied tungsten, a key metal for weapons. Also, in 1939, Germany and the Soviet Union signed a pact. Until June 1941, the Soviet Union supplied Germany with many resources, covering up to 70% of Germany's needs. 7. A failing system. After Germany took over parts of Europe, it wanted these lands to help its war. But Germany did not treat these countries as equals. They were there to provide Germany with resources and workers. Germany used a special system called clearing accounts for this. When a factory in France made engines for German planes, France sent them to Germany. But Germany did not send money back. Instead, France's central bank made a note that Germany owed it money. Germany just kept taking goods, and the debt grew. By the end of 1944, Germany owed almost 30 billion Reichsmarks to these countries. But Germany never paid back this money. This system was like a trick to get goods for free. Also, the occupied countries had to pay very large amounts of money to Germany every year. For example, the Netherlands paid about half of its yearly earnings to Germany. France had to pay 400 million francs every day, which was also about half of its total yearly earnings. To get this money, the occupied countries had to print more money. This made their money worth less, and prices went up a lot. People found it harder to buy food and other goods. These high costs and the forced trade made the economies of the occupied lands weaker. Factories in these countries made mostly goods for Germany's army, so local people had few things to buy. By 1945, the amount of goods made in these countries fell greatly. France's factories made 30% less than before the war. The Netherlands made 50% less. Germany was slowly destroying the very base that helped it fight the war. As the war continued, Germany faced another big problem: a lack of workers. Before the Second World War, Germany had many people, but fighting in the war caused huge losses. Millions of German men were in the army. By 1943, almost 10 million men were fighting. This meant that by 1941, there were almost no young men left to work in factories or on farms. Germany even asked older men and women to work, but it was not enough. Germany needed millions of new workers. So, Germany looked to the countries it had taken over. During the war, Germany created a huge system of forced labor. 12 million people were taken from their homes in occupied lands. They were prisoners of war or regular citizens. They were made to work in Germany. By 1944, almost 40% of workers in some German factories were forced laborers. For example, some prisoners worked in chemical plants making explosives, and others built engines for Volkswagen cars. However, these forced laborers were not efficient. They worked under terrible conditions, with little food and rest. Their work was often only 75 to 85% as good as a regular German worker. Many became sick or died. This system was very cruel and did not solve Germany's labor problem. The lack of good workers meant Germany could not make enough weapons and other goods for its army, and the war machine slowly started to fail. 8. The end of the war. The war started to go badly for Germany in 1942. Major defeats began to happen. A whole German army was lost at Stalingrad, a city in the Soviet Union. This was a big turning point. In the summer of 1943, the Soviet army stopped the Germans again at Kursk in a very large tank battle. In the West, the British and U.S. armies landed in North Africa. Italy, Germany's ally, was also losing. In September 1943, Italy's leader, Benito Mussolini, was removed from power. Italy then left the war. The Allies landed in Normandy, France, on June 6, 1944. This meant the war was now on Germany's doorstep. As Germany grew weaker, its allies started to leave. Finland stopped fighting in September 1944. Sweden, which was neutral but helped Germany, also changed its stance. In December, Romania made peace with the Soviet Union. This was a big problem for Germany, as Romania had supplied a lot of its oil. Without these resources, Germany could not replace its lost soldiers and military equipment. German factories and cities were also heavily bombed by Allied planes. Industry fell apart not only because there were no workers or materials, but also because of these air attacks. By March 1945, the German economy had almost stopped working. Hitler then ordered that all German roads, factories, and power plants be destroyed so the enemy could not use them. But Albert Speer, who was in charge of weapons, did not follow this order. He knew that destroying everything would make it impossible for Germany to recover after the war. In April 1945, the German armies in Italy, the West, and the Baltic countries gave up one after another. On April 30, 1945, Hitler killed himself. On May 8, 1945, Germany surrendered without any conditions. This was the end of the Third Reich's economy. Hjalmar Schacht was a man who helped build Germany's economy for war. After the war, he was put on trial at Nuremberg with other Nazi leaders. But Schacht was not found guilty. He was acquitted on October 1, 1946. He later started a bank and lived until 1970. Schacht said that Hitler's desire for war ruined his plans to create jobs and improve trade. He believed history would judge what happened. The court said he had helped Hitler, but there was no proof he was a strong supporter of his cruel plans. In the end, Germany's economy, which was built on taking from other countries and using forced labor, destroyed itself. Every step, from printing money without real value to using people as slaves, brought the Third Reich closer to its end. The main reason for its collapse was the failure to conquer the Soviet Union and its rich resources. Without these, the German war machine could not keep going, and finally stopped. What do you think was the biggest mistake Germany made that led to its defeat?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.